If I was considering going into self-storage, first thing I've heard is you better educate yourself, spend some time to become familiar with that asset class, what it takes to find, or what it takes to run it, to determine whether or not the numbers work. But the key, I think, also is years ago, you probably recall that warehouse that Toby and I, my partner Toby and I purchased, and we thought we would turn it into a self-storage facility. So, oh, this is great. We're going to make this self-storage. And you said, yeah, I don't know if I would do that if I were you. So if I'm an investor and I want to get into this, what are some of the just the demographics of the areas, or where should I look to find some opportunities?
The easiest thing that you can do is check the occupancy surrounding your property. And usually you want to do it within a 5 to 10 minute drive time and just see how the other operators are, see how full they are. Go to one of their locations and ask, hey, I want to rent a unit and I want to rent a 10 by 10 and see if they have any availability. And so go to every single property, check the occupancy at every single property. You could call as well and just see how your competitors compare occupancy wise to the subject property. And if everybody's full and per average unit size, everybody's below, priced above your subject site, that might be able to prove a business plan that allows you to raise rents. And then secondly, I always encourage people to do a feasibility study. Call up like a Bob Copper or a Jay Graham or somebody who in the industry does third party feasibility studies and ask them to say, hey, can you do a desktop study for me and tell me if this is a good expansion opportunity or ground up if you're building a new one, just to get a pulse on the investment. So I would probably say if you're looking at a property, that would be the first couple things I would do. If you don't know how to underwrite, I would make sure that you hire someone that knows how to underwrite, or you learn that process. There's a lot, Clint. To be honest, I mean, like when you guys brought us that deal, you guys are very sophisticated. You guys have hundreds, if not thousands, of doors in your portfolio, and then obviously in your client's portfolio, it's massive, probably millions. So it's really niche. It's not hard. It's just different. And so there's a lot of little nuances that you want to educate yourself on and know what you're looking for and not completely rely on what the broker might be telling you or even the seller in that case. So a lot of things, to look for as far as demand, occupancy, underwriting, what your business plan is going to be and how you're going to actually make yield on that investment.
Okay, so for those that don't understand, when you say underwriting, what does that entail?
Yeah, so you want to do four things. You want to figure out what's your unit mix. How many 5 by 5s, how many 10 by 10s, how many 10 by 15s, 10 by 20s, etc. And you can do it on a spreadsheet. You have a tab on your spreadsheet and you run your unit mix, okay? So now you know what units you have, what unit sizes you have. And then you want to input what the rents are for those unit sizes. So what is the seller collecting in those unit types, right? Then you want to go into your assumptions on revenue and expenses, and then get your property tax expenses down. Talk to an insurance agent, see what the new insurance is going to be for coverage, specifically one that specializes in self storage. You don't want to just call any insurance broker. You want one that actually specializes in storage. So that's your revenue and expenses. And I always say the five things I look at revenue and expenses is how much revenue, what's your expense to income gross ratio. So if you're making a dollar, how much are you expending to make that dollar? So I want to see at least 40%, if not more. Otherwise, it's too light. I always look at the property taxes, because remember, when you buy that property, you're going to get reassessed at a higher rate. And
Hmm.
so your property taxes are going to increase when you buy it. So you have to account for that in your financial underwriting, your projections for how you're going to do your business plan. And then insurance, make sure you're well insured. And so you have your unit mix, and then you can say, okay, this is what the seller is currently collecting on average for each unit mix type. Then go to the market and say, okay, what's the average market getting on their unit mix type? And you might find that, hey, my seller is charging $100 on the average for a specific unit, and the market's charging $130 for that same unit. And those properties are in worse condition than the sellers. So you might look and hey, everybody's full. That might give you an opportunity to raise rents, right? And then that might show you how you can make this opportunity run a little bit better. And of course, I'm assuming you're a better operator, you know how to do marketing, and you know how to answer the phone, and you know how to run a call center, and all the things that go into self storage. So that's what I would map out in your underwriting. What's your unit mix? What are your revenue assumptions? What are your expenses? And make sure that it produces what you're setting out in your return expectations overall on that investment. If you want to make a 15% return or something like that, you want to make sure that you're getting those things.
So are there operators out there that would, handle the management of the units? Or can you
Oh,
find people?
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's, you guys all, your listeners, and you probably heard of the company, big company called Public Storage. They're the largest operator and owner in the world. They'll do property management. So the REITs will do property management for you. The Extra Space, Cube Smart, StoreQuest, Public Storage, etc. All those operators will do third party management. And then there's a lot of more regional or smaller operators that will run your property. But here's the thing. You just want to be careful, because if the property is too small, you might have a minimum property management that's required that might wipe out all your profits, right? I mean, the property management has a minimum that they want to make on on your property, and your property may not produce enough revenue to justify it. And then just another caution is just that the REITs are good, but remember, they're not motivated like you're motivated, right? There might be a little bit of an incentive misalignment, because they care about a percentage of gross revenue. You care about the net profit, right? So there might be a misalignment there. So you just really have to make sure that you're partnering with the right property management company. But they exist and they're out there, and you can find the right one, or you can try to do it yourself. And that's a whole nother thing. So